to the land of Kakiak, where I homeschool my 3 boys using the Robinson curriculum as the base of our homeschool education. I wanted to talk today about how and why we use resources outside of RC for our homeschool curriculum. Okay, so here's the scoop on the Robinson curriculum. If you're not familiar, I'll try to give a quick overview. It is a curriculum that in the early years focuses on the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic exclusively, pretty much. It was set up to have a reading list, a book list that's fabulous, and was like one of the big selling points for me on the curriculum. Math facts only, all operations through the 12s, and then once those are mastered, moving into the Saxon 5-4 book, and then just continuing with Saxon after that. And I mean, this is the guidance, right? And then 3 copy work until the age of about 10, and then essay writing after that. So sounds good, right? And the course of study goes into more of the thinking behind this program, and it's just, I agree with the thinking. I'm on board. I'm on board with it. So the Robinson curriculum, it's very affordable. It's a printable curriculum, so you can either buy the CDs or you can get the online subscription, and you can just download everything you need and print it right in your own home. It's right at your fingertips. It's very convenient. You do bind your own books. I have a video on that if you're interested. I'll link it down below. But it's a great program, and I was sold on it right, for the beginning, because it just hit on so many of the things I was looking for. It had a great vetted, book list for us. It was affordable. It didn't do too much in the early years with math and all this extra busy work and all the type of stuff I really didn't want to be a part of, and it just really gets down to the skills, right? Focusing on the skills they actually need to learn. What comes up though sometimes is this tugging of state requirements. If you're in the States like me, all 50 states have their own set of homeschool laws that we have to be in compliance with. And art, Dr. Robinson is an Oregonian, and the state of Oregon, for instance, has no mandated subjects. So you can really make whatever curriculum you want, whatever you feel is right for your student in the state of Oregon, which, I mean, I think that's great, personally. They do require testing, which I don't like, but I live in a state that has mandated subjects, including science and history, starting in kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, and also composition starting in 7th grade and on. So I've had to craft a curriculum that I felt met my state standards, and it also worked for our family. So I didn't want to just let go of RC and go trying to find a whole new. I liked RC so much. I just thought I can work with this. I can just add in what I need, right? Now I know people are going to say, RC people are going to say, oh, you just read the books. And I just decided that didn't work out for me because, in my way of thinking, because they require it from such an early age, from like kindergarten, like my kids aren't reading in kindergarten. I can't give them the Tale of Jolly Robin and have them do an animal like research unit with it, like, when they're 5. I can't. So I had, like I said, come up with my own solution. If you are in a similar position to me and you're like, I love RC, but my state requires, these other additional specific subjects, or I want my child to do a spelling program, I see value in that, or I personally had an interest in my kids studying the English language from more aspects than just learning like how to read and copy and handwriting, that's like the basic, right? That's where you start. I thought was a great place to start. I just wanted to build, I wanted to extrapolate off of that a little bit. So I started creating my own resources and getting things here and there. So that's kind of how I got started on this, what to add in, how to add it in kind of thing. So I was going to boil it down to give you, if you're in a position like I was, don't give up on RC if you're thinking about it, if you're kind of fielding the curriculums out there. Don't just don't put RC, straight to the back of the line until you hear my simple suggestions, okay? And I've done a lot of front loading these decision-making things. If you just want someone to give you suggestions, I will link all my sequences, all my bridge curriculum sequences. The goal is to get my kids to being independent, just doing the RC thing, because I do think they have everything there for them once they get into the upper levels. It's just more they get the kindergarten kind of through middle school that I think I have to, I'm building the scaffolding for them to get to essay writing, to meet the requirements for history and science. And it needs to be not overwhelming. It needs to not conflict with the philosophy of RC that I agree with, such as there's no point in working really hard to train your kids to memorize all these science things when they really aren't, their minds really aren't ready, so they're really being given a simplified model that they're going to have to unlearn when they learn real science. I was careful what I picked. Let me just give you a little guide if you want to take it. I'm just a lady on the internet. But I do this with my kids. So my personal picks, like I said, I'll leave all the links to all the free sequences below. They have links to all the resources in them for you to check out. First, start at the beginning. Just start with the RC pure method, right? Especially if you've never homeschooled before and if you're new to it, this is your first kid. As you go, your capacity for homeschooling will increase. You'll get better at it. You'll get more familiar with the materials. You'll get better at it. So just start simple and just add in a little at a time. And don't be afraid if you add in something to take away something, because your kids can only do so much. So the first thing I think we added in, I kind of changed, was I added in some bridge reading books, because my kids, we did, so my second son, we did How to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, and that he did fabulously with that. But then there was he wasn't ready to start, he couldn't start the RC reading list. So what to do? I picked out some books that I considered, my bridge books. These are the books you can read. You can have you reading these until you're ready. Let his mind have some time to catch up, and we started into McGuffey readers. So I added in a structured, which the McGuffey readers are on the reading list, but they're not for RC, but they're not, the guidance isn't necessarily to do the lessons with them. It was just to have them, I do the lessons with my kids, at least through the third reader. So that's the first thing I added in, right? We're gonna have some bridge books that you kind of practice reading on your own, but then you're also gonna have a daily structured reading lesson with mom in the McGuffies. That was really fruitful. So then I thought, well, I'm gonna base my copy work off of the McGuffies. So I actually created copy work for the primer, this is for the revised set, the primer, the first reader, the second reader, and the third reader. So I have my copy work set, right? I have it in stone. I'll put links to that stuff down below too. So that was the first thing I kind of changed, right, on it. Then, we had to have science and social studies. So I picked just up a really simple science book, for, it was the Berenstain Bears Big Book of Science for kindergarten. So that was his kindergarten science. So I just added that on at the end of the day, right? If we got through our 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and arithmetic, we just started. I'd already taught him how to count, and he'd use his numbers up to a certain point, but we just started actually into the raised arithmetic. I ended up just over time making my own math curriculum, which I'll also link down below. But all with the goal of getting to the math facts, right? And we use the math flashcards also. I just slowly started adding in what I felt would be helpful, and I was still considering myself Robinson curriculum, you know. And then I picked up, I had to do social studies. Like, what am I going to do for social studies? Kindergarten, I think we just happened to be reading the Rush Revere books to my older son. We were just reading them in the evening. So I just had my kindergartner listen while we were reading those books before bedtime, and called it, you know, social studies. He loved those books. I'll link those down below too. Those are so good. Actually, and did you know, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Rush Revere books, God rest his soul, he actually had a whole, like a study guides that went with those books, and there was a whole website dedicated to it, and there's pictures on it. I don't know, I haven't looked at it in a while if they're keeping it up since he passed away, but there was like kids, mostly homeschool kids, you know, using those as their like history curriculum. There's all, like, you could even, I want to say there was some kind of contest they could even do, and like meat rush and all time. It was, anyways, it looked so fun. Like there was whole co-ops that were doing it together. Anyway, so there's study guides that are free that you can print off if you buy those, if you have those books. Like you can just go to the website and print those off and do them as a little ready-made curriculum to go with those books. So anyways, that's what we did. We just had him listen along as we read those stories, and he loved those stories. I actually made sequences for all these things. Like over time I just layered things on. So that's what I would do. My first advice would be just to start with the basics, and then just add one thing at a time, because you want to adjust, see how your kid reacts to it. You know, don't start 5 new things at one time. Just do one new thing at a time. Sometimes I switch things out. So I just consider reading, writing, arithmetic to be, I think of that, it was that game that's like, what's it called, like Connect It or whatever, but you would have like those little red or black, you know, pieces, and you would just drop them down the columns. That's how I think of how my approach to RC has become. So there's these goals of, you know, getting their math facts memorized and getting them into Saxon. And so that's one column, right? There's math, then there's reading, there's the RC list, and then being also just able to read. Like I just call the RC list at this earlier point, I just call that all reading. The kids are just always reading. I think when they get older and they start getting, the list starts getting really specific into the subjects. Like there's things that are clearly history, there's things that are clearly science. But I feel like that's not till later. It's like more like high school level. So, and then of course there's like great literature in there too. So for now that just goes in, the book list just goes into the reading column. And then I also am going to add in my McGuffey lessons, you know, structured reading lessons with mom. And then writing is going to start out as just, you know, copy work, you know, like through first grade especially. And then I started doing like, but you know, let's start practicing some spelling, you know. So I need a spelling resource. I just didn't love the spelling or grammar resources that come with RC and the bonus materials. So I just picked some other things. I picked gentle grammar. I could put a grammar. I consider grammar to be writing and spelling to be writing. And I created my own spelling program based off of the McGuffey revised spelling book, which I did get from RC, the spelling book. So that went to writing, right? And I just layered things on, and you just kind of learn how much your kid can do, how much is too much, how much is, you know, not enough, what's, you know, I didn't want any busy work though, you know, I just wanted specific skills. I did just build a science curriculum for these early years, just so I didn't have to think about pulling apart this reading list and trying to make books work if I didn't have to. I did make some science, I did make some of the reading, take some of the reading list books, like the Arthur Scott Bailey books, and use them. You can see how I could use those for science. So I think you could use those books for reading and science, you know, for independent reading time and science. Or just use it for science and just for reading, just do your McGuffey reader lessons, you know, like that might be easier in my mind just to separate them out. Unless your child's a really good reader, you know, doesn't need the lessons. I don't know, maybe they're older. But then, so for history, I just decided to go ahead and invest in a whole other history curriculum. So I went with the Good and the Beautiful. I'll just tell you what I did. I bought all 4 years now. I'm like, it's going to be worth it. I'm going to reuse it with all the kids. They can do that. I can do it together at the same time. It's leveled, you know, so I've got 2 kids doing it right now. So I've got 2 different notebooks printed out for them. I just buy the whole curriculum with the game, you know, the cards that comes with, the extra storybook, the readers, and we only do it, and this is the trick, when you're adding on to RC, whatever you're adding on, I wouldn't do it like if it's whole other subjects, like a whole other column, right? You've got reading, writing, arithmetic. If you're adding in whole other columns like history and science, like I am, then I wouldn't do those every day. I'd only do those like 2 days a week or something. The Good and the Beautiful is really convenient for me for that because it's already divided up into 4 units. So right now, I've got 1 more unit left in this book, unit 4. And I don't care about you. It says year 1. I don't care about how long it takes us to do it. Like, we've been doing this book since last year. I don't care. Because I alternate. I do a unit of history. So that might take me 2 or 3 months to get through. And then I do a unit of science. And then I do a unit of history, and then I do a unit of science, right? I just go back and forth. That keeps us not getting bored. And it also can make your resources stretch longer, you know? So, and because of the year-round, recommended year-round schedule, 6 days a week for RC, I'm never worried about getting behind. I'm just not stressed about it. Oh, and then like for science, like, well, what do we do for science, you know? Well, I've got a science sequence if you need ideas, but I was actually just looking at these today because I'm about to start planning, getting ready to plan our next science unit, and I'm doing the ocean anatomy. So we've already done farm anatomy and nature anatomy, so we're doing ocean anatomy now. It has an activity book too. And then I printed out, there's these printable like notebooks, companions that you can get. So I bought those, and this is the notebook companion. This is the workbook that you print out. You can buy hard copies too, I think, but they fill it out while going through the main book. And then this one, I always do this for my younger son, who's only 2nd grade right now. We did this last year for something, for farm anatomy. We did the same thing. So that notebook also comes with, these are just blank notebooking pages. They came with it. So we'll put like features of ocean floor. It's just blank. It doesn't have like specific things. And so they can just draw or write or do whatever they want. And then they have pages, like when I started a new chapter, they can color it. That was like his favorite thing for farm anatomy, was the pages I let him color. Anatomy of a shell, see? Anyway, so the kids love family subjects. They absolutely love them. They love us all coming together and doing this. And I just make sure we get we do Bible, we do our 3 R's, and then, you know, as long as we have time, we can get to either our science or our history unit. What's nice too is if you only plan for it like 2 days a week, if for some reason you can't do it one day, you still have like 5 other days of the week, or 4 other days, I should say, 4 other days of the week to like just move it to. So it's really, really doable, you know, with that type of schedule. So you have all year to do it. You have, you know, 7 days a week, really, you know, 6 days you do school. If you only schedule yourself 2, I'm sure you could find 2 days in the week, you know, to spend an hour doing this really fun family subject. And yeah, when I do my planning, I'll make a planning video when I get around to planning this unit, and I'll give you guys more of a flip through of the resources I got, because I got so many. I think I was really excited. Wait, look at this one. Ah, it looks like a portal window. Yeah, so I wanted to have fun things to read, and then I couldn't stop myself, you guys. Look at, this is my really big reference book. Anyways, and I love it when we buy these, because the library won't let you check out any type of reference book, or at least my library won't. And I'm like, nobody's in here doing homework. Like, So these are basically never going to get used if you won't let homeschoolers check them out. Anyways, I think it's worth it to invest in them if you can. Ask for them for Christmas. I put a bunch of books on my Christmas wish list for the kids, because once you do those units, like, you don't look through every single page of those like big, like especially like the DK books and stuff I like, but then you have them in your home library, and then your kids have a little bit of background knowledge, you know, from doing your unit study or whatever you're doing, and then they pick them up all year long and look through them and are always learning more stuff and like building on that knowledge that they had. Yeah, I'm really excited to plan the ocean unit. You can tell, look at, I'm not sorry that I added that stuff. I'm like thrilled about it. The kids love it. We're thrilled. And it makes really good memories, and it's like this nice connected time, and it's just no stress. Like for me, those are like history and science are not graded, you know? So these are not stress, no stress. These are just to appreciate these subjects and let them enrich our minds, our lives. And it does help, I think, with the reading comprehension, because it's building background knowledge. It's building a base of foundational knowledge about all types of different topics that they may encounter in their reading stories and stuff. You know, so it's really helpful when they're reading, you know, like a period novel or whatever about, you know, some set during the Middle Ages, if they've had some, you know, history that covered the Middle Ages, right? Like feudalism, they'll have an understanding of what that is, since we talked about that. So all this to say, Robinson curriculum, I think, is a fantastic curriculum. If you want to use it just as a 3 R's in the early years, and it's in compliance with your state and it's working for you, that's wonderful. If your state requires more out of you, or if you want to do more, or if your kids want to do more, it's okay to add to it. Like, that's fine too. Just, it's completely flexible. It's a really great curriculum. So if you have any more questions about the Robinson curriculum, or if you're have any, you know, you're trying to problem solve, how can this curriculum work for me, leave me your comments down below. If you want my advice, I'll give you the best I've got. Otherwise, God bless, and I'll talk to you later.